Heya, it's Karma, and today I wanted to share a speed paint of my process for working on CGs for my visual novels. I didn't really think about recording the process before, so I didn't start until the sketch was already in progress. I plan to upload more complete speed paints from assets recorded as I work on the new update for Don't Toy With Me. Unless I do anything particularly special in those, I'll probably talk about other aspects of the story for voiceover, but for this one I want to focus on the making of the art itself. I try to keep backgrounds for CG simple to save time, unless the background is super important for the moment shown. This one just takes place under Dahlia's bed, so I just wing it and go with a cartoony sort of perspective with the curved boards. It's not really important to get it super accurate, just to make it look believable enough that it works for the moment. I use vector lines a lot in my art, and here you can see me using the curve tool. I don't like to use the straight line tool for anything if I can help it, since it tends to look weird next to my round, bubbly art style. Here I'm using a wood texture material included with Clip Studio Paint. It's the same one I used in the bedroom background, so I just copied it from that file and adjusted it to make sure that I'm using the same one. Light shows through thin materials, so here I'm trying to get the look of the light coming through the bed skirt. This is why I always sketch characters in their own folders. I'm always making last-minute adjustments before I ink. Here I found it kind of hard to see Huxley's sketch against the colored background, so I added a flat color on low opacity between his folder and the background. This lets me focus on the sketch while still being able to see how he's supposed to line up with the floor. I don't do a lot of planning for folds of clothes. Here I'm just trying to give the shape of Huxley's arm stub within the sleeve, as well as the rest of the sleeve being kind of floppy and empty. The gathered portions on Huxley's sleeves do tend to look a little similar to his ruffles though, since gathered material usually forms round little folds. Dahlia's hair is very stylized, so I can draw it quickly. It's basically just a bunch of flat sections. I probably also could have used a lace brush for Dahlia's lace, but the style I use is so simple and cartoony, it's easier to just let it be kind of lumpy. Fun fact, I love flowers in art, and I hate drawing flowers. Why did I make the protagonist for In Your Nature a florist? We may never know. Here I start on the waist before I remember this CG will need multiple versions, so I need to separate both her expression and her arms so that it's easier to add changes to them. I love ruffles. I love drawing them. That's the whole thought. I love frilly dresses in general, but ruffles are a quick and easy way to add a lot of texture to something that's mostly just big, simple shapes, such as a bell-shaped skirt. It's in this moment I realize I drew on the wrong layer. Also that the face looks kind of off. Time for tiny adjustments until it looks right. Drawing in vector layers is super handy for being able to make these kinds of changes easily. Here I use a Psi marker replica brush to carve light spots out of the shadow. This method is faster for me and more accurate for dramatically lit pictures with a lot of shadows in them. Add darker shadows as another layer as needed. The blur brush is for round and flat areas that diffuse light. Hard edges are for sharp folds and shapes with hard edges. Resist the urge to blur literally everything. Shadows done. Now I can hide them and focus on the character's usual colors. What color is Huxley's hair? Blay or Grue? Fun fact, the hanging pieces on Huxley's costume are inspired by the collars from clown-themed Lolita dresses. So even though he doesn't wear a dress, both Huxley and Dahlia have influences from Lolita fashion in their designs. The facial features here have to be shaded separately since they are also switchable. Huxley's outline felt too thin compared to the bed, so I added a thicker outline using Clip's border feature. The shadow on the floor is just a copy of Huxley's folder flattened and made into one color on the multiply layer. I blur the shadow anywhere that isn't close to the parts of him that are casting the shadow. I keep adjusting the background as I go to make sure the characters don't blend into it. Laying down your base color with the lasso tool is quick, but I still have to manually color over any of the vector lines that reach a thin point, because it doesn't bother coloring behind the lines. Also, you'll notice that I repeat a lot of colors within the design to help tie it together. Every character in Don't Toy With Me shares at least one color with the other characters. I didn't mean to wait to shade Dahlia, I just forgot to do it before starting to color. Adding shadows in shapes that go inward like the back of her hair and the bonnet are important to make it clear where they are, since otherwise they look kind of flat and don't really show that they have a lot of depth. I was so focused on getting the dress to lay right that I forgot about her apron. Okay, now back to coloring. Another fun color fact, Dahlia's pinstripes are just the same color as her dress, but as a multiply layer. Dahlia's hair highlights are also always that magenta color, even when I draw her in different lighting. I adjust the layers so that I can put the glow over the line art too, since black lines showing through bright glowy highlights can be kind of distracting. It can be hard to see with all the shading, but Dahlia's eyes are black and purple with pink highlights, while Huxley's are purple and red with pink highlights. More shadows, more light adjustments. To get the kind of old visual novel aesthetic, I flatten the whole image, copy it, undo, and then paste the flattened image as a layer on top of everything else. I then blur that layer just a little bit, and then I lower the opacity so that the sharp version of the image still shows through. Afterwards, I add this RGB noise material over the whole thing as an overlay layer, and that way nothing is an actual, just solid flat color. The result of all this is that the CGs have a unique look to them compared to the standard sprite and backgrounds. It's very similar to methods you'll see for making fake anime screenshots. I hope this was helpful, or at least interesting for anybody who wondered about how I make the CGs for my visual novels. If this is your first encounter with my visual novel work, please consider checking out my itch.io page, linked below. This piece is from the new update currently in progress that will go towards completing my free horror visual novel called Don't Toy With Me. It's a short horror story set in a dollhouse. If you're not much of a reader, there are also a lot of people who have done wonderful Let's Plays of the original version, even narrating all of the text and dialogue for you. So, however you decide to look into it, I hope you enjoy it. Next month I will be working on another free project for the 2022 Spooktober Visual Novel Jam. So expect to see videos covering pretty much the whole process of making that game next month. For now, let's hope I get this one done in time for the end of this month. Goodbye for now.